What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today we're going to do a quick video on 5 techs that I think you should be considering for Peoria Regional Championships for the Lost Origin Standard Format metagame. So these 5 techs might be um, better for some decks than others, and we can talk about that as well. So first we're going to start off with Cheryl. So Cheryl 1 is going to be very good if you're playing Lumineon in your deck to search it out, or if you're playing an Empoleon based deck. Um, I think Lumineon V I didn't really want to include in this video as a tech card because it's really not, but it goes very well with your tech supporters, and I think Lumineon V is at its best. Lumineon V has never been better than it is right now, in my opinion. It can get your Marnies, Roxanne, your Cheryl. If you're playing a Lost Engine box, you can get Chorus turn 1. If you're playing a Melanie deck, it can grab your Melanie exactly when you need it. So I think Lumineon V is just super duper good. So that's just a blanket statement. That's not counting as one of our 5 techs today, but Cheryl, heal all damage from each of your evolution Pokemon and discard all energy from the Pokemon that were healed in this way. This works really well in the water decks right now, like Palkia or Kyurem, because like in Palkia Kyurem, you can Cheryl your Kyurem and then use your V-Star power from Palkia to accelerate energy, or you can, if you have double Guru, double Kyurem set up, you can even do it that way, even if you've popped your V-Star power already. And then this can also be good in Mew VMAX because your Mew VMAX decks are just playing double turbo energies. So you get hit a couple times by the Lost Zone boxes. Maybe they hit you with Cram twice in the active, and then you can just Cheryl away 2 attacks. So I think the Cheryl is really good against the single prize matchups for gaining that tempo back, and it kind of just erases their turns and puts you ahead if you're able to do Cheryl at a really opportune time. So Cheryl's going to be our first tech for this video. Next is Lost Vacuum. So Lost Vacuum I really like because of its versatility and its coverage. It gets rid of a tool or a stadium. Now, regardless of what deck you're playing, there is going to be a tool or a stadium at some point that you don't want in play. Whether it's a big charm that's stopping you from taking a knockout, or a tool jammer that's stopping you from using your own tool, a path to the peak that's shutting off your abilities, a collapsed stadium that's stopping you from benching that last Pokemon. There's always something if your opponent's playing stadiums or tools, there's always going to be a reason to use Lost Vacuum, essentially. So this is very general, and that's why I like it in a tech spot if you have room for it, because this can almost always get you some value, especially if you draw into it after like the first couple turns. There's usually going to be something to Lost Vacuum. Especially if Big Parasol is a threat to your deck. Like Big Parasol stops Giratina V-Star's V-Star attack from knocking out something. It also stops Sableye Lost Mine attack from spreading damage counters around. So definitely play Lost Vacuum in either of those decks, in my opinion. Giratina can also just consider a Tool Jammer, but Tool Jammer is a lot way less good in Sableye based decks, and Lost Vacuum's just better there. So Lost Vacuum I've also seen in Palkia decks, in Arceus and Teleon decks, in Kyurem decks. It can really just fit into anything, like I said, because there's almost always a tool or a stadium that can hinder your deck, regardless of which deck you're playing. Next is going to be Empoleon V. So now Empoleon V is definitely on the back foot. Like Empoleon V was great like a week ago, and it might just come around to being great again, because here's how I see the metagame developing. People were playing one Empoleon V, Lost Boxes added more escape ropes. People played 2 Empoleon Vs to beat that. Lost Box started adding Path to the Peaks, custom catchers, extra bosses, and canceling colognes. That means Empoleon Vs should just come out of the deck now, play something better. Play Lumineon and Cheryl, play something like that against the Lost Boxes instead. If you were playing this in like, if you were playing this in Curum Palkia, if you were playing this in Palkia and Teleon, take it out anyway. And if you were playing this in Arceus and Teleon, take it out anyway. Um, but we could just come back around to people stop teching their lost boxes for Empoleon, and then that makes double Empoleon good again if they stop teching for it, because the ropes don't really do anything. The bosses and cross switchers are clunky. It's really the path to the peaks and the canceling clones that you have to worry about. And if people are taking those out of their deck, then double Empoleon is going to be really good against Lost Zone decks. It does also have coverage elsewhere. It's good against anybody using Celebrations Mew. It's good against Regigigas, which Regigigas does seem pretty darn good right now. And it's also good against some of the more fringe stuff like Miltank and Lunarox. You know, it's nice to have a card in your deck that just knocks out Miltank and doesn't care that Miltank's annoying because of Empoleon's Emperor Eyes. So this is a card to still consider, but there's a lot more consideration around this one than the other ones that we're talking about today, because there's like a counter to the counter tech with this. There's a cycle. Will people be playing the counters to it? Should I just play a different tech instead? And if this is uncountered, this is a very, very good tech against the Lost Boxes. Next is Big Parasol. So I already alluded to this with Lost Vacuum, but Big Parasol is really good as long as as long as the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot. Prevent all effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to all of your Pokemon. So this stops Lost Mine from hitting everything as long as this is in the active. It stops Giratina Star Requiem from knocking out the active Pokemon. It stops special effects from being applied by attacks. You know, all of those kinds of things. So the big two are Sableye and Giratina V-Star, and I'd imagine you're going to hit 2 to 5 decks in your 9 rounds of day 1 that include Sableye in some capacity. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of Sableye. Double Big Parasol is like absolute dreadfulness for the Sableye decks to deal with. Double Parasol is crazy good against the Sableye decks. And also good against Tina, but really, yeah, Tina plays Sableye too. So double Big Parasol if you really want to secure those matchups. And of course, that'll just force them to find their lost vacuums at the right time, so making them have those checkpoints instead of just being able to carry out their game plan all willy-nilly without any hindrance. So yeah, if you think you want to make your Tina and Sableye matchups better, I think double Big Parasol or even just one Big Parasol is they're both helping. You know, one Big Parasol helps a little, and then double Big Parasol helps even more. And the last one we'll talk about is a double. So we're going to talk about Roxanne and Marnie. Now, Marnie's I count as a draw supporter for myself in my deck because I can use it at any time. Roxanne's a little different because you have to wait until your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining. I would play at least one Marnie and one Roxanne in in probably any deck you play this weekend. Like, manipulating your opponent's hand is very important, whether you're playing against Palkia and Teleon and they're building a 10-card hand, or you're playing against Comfy Engine of any sort, mostly Lost Box or Giratina. It doesn't matter as much against Hisui and Gudra, but if you're playing against Lost Box versions or Giratina, you want to be able to Marnie them at some point and then Roxanne them after they go down to 3 prizes, or at least get to do one of those in a game. So, yeah, Marnie and Roxanne, like, I, I, if I was playing a Lost Zone deck this weekend, I might, I might I might settle for just one of the two, but I'd really like to fit both of them because, like I said, Marnieing at just like turn 2 or turn 3 after they've built a hand is really strong, and then Roxanne a little later is very, very strong as well. And also be prepared for your opponents to be playing Marnie and Roxanne. You know, play something that can kind of handle these cards pretty well. And so that's going to be My 5 techs going into Peoria regionals, Marnie and Roxanne counting as number 5 together. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about anything I talked about in today's video. Check out my sponsors in the description down below. Subscribe to the channel for daily Pokemon TCG content. Like, leave a comment, all of that stuff. Have a great day. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network. Bye-bye.